Welcome back to Wine Talk Wednesday. We are here tonight with an absolute legend in the Valley, one of about 280 in the world, and two here in the state, Master Sommelier and good friend of mine, Mr. Larry Stone.
Nice to be here, Levi.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. My first time tasting your wine, I'll remember the story, because I was studying for my certification at the time with one of my mentors from culinary school, and we were driving all the way out here to Salem, towards Salem, and it was a super rainy day, and we had driven past the sign that said Lingua Franca, and you were still pretty new at the time, so you weren't in restaurants a lot. It was just the sign, and we drove past, and he goes, "Lingua Franca, isn't that Larry Stone's place?" Like, oh my gosh, yeah, you're right. We should go check it out. So we turn around, beeline into the parking lot, and the building looks empty. There's no one there.
Yeah.
We park in the lot. We go to every single door around this warehouse. Locked. Finally, we get to this last entrance, and it's opened. We poke our heads in. And I remember like shouting out, like, "Hello!" And you poke your head around, and you go, "Hi, how can I help you?" I'm like, "Hey, we're looking for Larry Stone." You're like, "That's me." And we were just like, "Oh my gosh, this is such an honor to meet you." And you invited us in, and we did this old barrel tasting, and afterwards, you had given me a bottle. I think it was a 2016 Estate, and signed it for me. It's still in my cellar. It's one of my favorite bottles. So
great.
But yeah, the first time tasting your wines, and I knew when I started here and started developing this program that Lingua Franca, of course, had to be on the list. So currently, we carry the Omni Estates, and my song team really loves pouring them and selling to our guests, and they make people really happy. So
Great. Yeah. Well,
speaking of sommeliers. Not a lot of our guests to watch this really understand what it means to be part of the court, or what is a sommelier. You've been part of the court since the early 80s is when you passed your MS?
yeah. No, not early 80s. I passed in 88.
88. Still one of the original MSs in the community.
Yeah.
I mean, your scene in the somm world was an inspiration to a lot of upcoming young sommeliers and Master Sommeliers that are still currently in existence as far as the programs. Can you speak a little about your journey with becoming an MS, and if you have any advice for up-and-coming sommeliers?
It's hard. My best advice is I'll give that at the end, but it's very simple. But I'm in 88 or maybe late 87. I think it was early 88 that I passed. But the idea is that I didn't really intend to be a master sommelier. I didn't really intend to be a sommelier. I wanted to be one. When I was in school, I tried to get a job when I was an undergraduate to being a sommelier at a local restaurant in Seattle called Ray's Boathouse. It had a very good Northwest list. But I knew foreign languages, and the owners of the restaurant didn't, and they mispronounced the word for bone, which is very easy because you just say, if you say like B-O-N-E almost, bone, it's so pretty much, it's very close. But they made it more exotic. They called it Bonn. And I thought they were talking about the wine auction in Germany at the time, which was held in the former capital of West Germany, Bonn. And so I said, "Oh, I like German wines." And they thought, "What an idiot, we're talking about this French wine auction. He thinks this is in Germany." So I go like, "Oh." And I don't think it helped matters by saying, "Oh, bone." They didn't like being corrected. But I was teaching English and German I was teaching German by this time, I think, when I applied. So anyway, I didn't get the job. So and then I went into graduate school, and I was writing my doctoral dissertation when my roommate, we held office hours for students, and in the same place. He was teaching English composition, and I was teaching English composition at the time. And he said, there's a job but he had another job because he didn't make enough doing that. He said, there's a job available for a sommelier at this restaurant. And I know I'll never get it. I tried once and I couldn't get the job. And I tried to get a job at a wine shop, and they didn't want me either because I didn't have enough experience. He said, "No, you'll get this. You know more than anybody else." I said, "That won't get it." So I had a bet going. I was writing my doctoral dissertation at this time. Actually, I was teaching three different classes in 3 different departments. And he was worried I'd never finish my dissertation. So I got the job as a sommelier on a bet that I couldn't get a job. I lost the bet, I got the job, but it was not easy. I had to go through 4 interviews because again, I didn't have any experience and where did you come from? It's a funny story in its own right. But in any case, then I never went back to writing my dissertation. And then I worked for him for 4 years, that restaurant, about almost 4 years. And then I was recruited by Four Seasons. And they put me in a competition for the best sommelier in the world. When they hired me, they already had planned that, and I didn't know. I didn't want to compete for best sommelier. I was still thinking maybe I'll write my dissertation in a year or so. I'll quit all this and I'll just finish my doctoral dissertation. So they entered me for a competition. I won the best sommelier in the Northwest. I won the best sommelier in the United States. And then then there was a 2-year hiatus between that and the best sommelier in the world. It was an extension. Everybody in the regions who won, they got to go on to the next level, and that was in Paris. The final one was in Paris, and I won it in '86, and Paris was in May of '88, and in the last month of in October of '87, I got a call from Fred Dane saying, "You're going to take the Master Sommelier test." And I go like, I didn't know they gave it in America. I didn't hear anything about it in Seattle. No one communicated with us. In New York, they heard about it, maybe in San Francisco, but not in the Northwest. We didn't have any such connections. So he said, you're going to take it. I said, well, I didn't apply for it. He said, well, the executive committee, we discussed that since you're the best sommelier in America, it would be helpful if you took the test. Whether you pass or fail, it means that you have been paying attention and that it's important to you to also take this test because it's a test, it's not a competition. So I go, okay, oops. And I thought, I hesitated, but then I thought it would be good practice. So I passed that too. I was the only one to pass that year. But and I was looking forward as a preparation for another test. But what it taught me was this is my advice to sommeliers. I studied all the time. I mean, I had great study habits from my time I was a child. I studied and studied. I studied all sorts of things. I was very curious about everything. And I was even a National Merit Scholar in science before I went into humanities and sort of teach on languages and literature. So it's important to have curiosity, and if you're in the wine profession, you better read everything you can all the time. Don't just study for a test, just read everything and remember it, use it, and talk to other people about it. That makes you remember it better. And when you take a test, for God's sake, relax. Don't be worried about passing or failing. It doesn't matter if you pass or fail. What matters is how much you learn studying for the test. And if you know enough and you have you're asked the right questions too, somewhat it's a matter of luck. You got to get questions you can answer, then you pass. And you only have to pass like 70% basically of the questions. But if you worry about every question as if it meant you're going to live or die, then you take your time and you're never going to pass, because you have to pass 70% of all the questions asked, not just 70% of the questions you get asked. Mm-hmm. But if you're so slow you don't get through the whole series of questions, you're not gonna pass no matter what. So getting 100% right of 50% isn't good enough. So don't worry about 100%, worry about 30% of the whole thing. And what you can answer right away. Just go through and answer them. And then work on the ones you have some hesitation about and refine them. But by the time you're done answering the questions you can go back and you have more confidence that you only need a few more correct answers. You feel confident about what you have answered already? Okay, what do I need to fill in to get there, and what's the best answer? Think about it and relax. When you're nervous, you fail everything. If you're always worried about the outcome versus what is in front of you, then you'll never get anywhere. It's like a young chef thinking, I want 3 Michelin stars. So everything he does has to be like 3 Michelin quality, from the day he's learning how to peel vegetables and make stock to the day he has his own restaurant. You'll be a nervous wreck, and you won't do a good job either, because you're going, that's not good enough yet. You're always being hard on yourself instead of saying, how can I improve this tomorrow? What I'm doing today, how can I improve it tomorrow? I always looked at the profession as being a golden opportunity to be with people at their best moments, because no one who came into a restaurant was there to have a bad time. you could give them a bad time if you were thoughtless or careless, or forgot about them, or treated them like as if they were idiots or insects, just a cog in the machine. I looked at everyone as a personal guest, so I think that was the cornerstone of my career. Get to know your guests. They chose you. They're here for either their son's graduation, a pre-wedding dinner, closing a big business deal, or just they love great food and the company they're with, but they're there to enjoy it.
So I love that. We were just at the Welcome Conference in New York last week, and that was hosted by the Wilkes-Barre Hospitality Group. One of the speakers said something that was really resonated with us. He said, we're service professionals, hospitality professionals, but we have a front row seat to our guests' most intimate moments. And we're the ones facilitating those dining experiences. Like you mentioned, whether it's a first date or an anniversary or graduation or business dinner, we're the ones that are on this side of the table over here facilitating everything that's happening to this table because they chose us. They chose to be here tonight. Right. They chose to come to the Joel Palmer House or to Per Se or wherever.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible thing.
Yeah, I mean, and you should know, all servers, waiters and sommeliers and chefs should know that what you do for that couple or that table that night could have consequences in their lives that you don't have any awareness of. I gave what was supposed to be a goodbye dinner date for Jeremy, Sis, and Diana, who, he had studied a year, he studied marine biology, and he did his graduate work. He studied in Oxford and he did his graduate work at Monterey, and then, with the aquarium and associated scholastic institutions. And this was his goodbye. He's going back to France. Diana was, Snowden was staying in Napa, and that was their last date, supposedly. But they spent it at my restaurant, and I knew it was Jacques Sech's son, and I met him a few times. And I said, we're going to give him a great dinner, and he's going away. He's going to go back home. He'll remember this. And years later, Diana Snowden, now Seth, said, that dinner, when you treated him the way you did and brought all these great bottles of wine over for him to try and gave us the best seat in the house, it made me think twice about leaving him. So they've been married now for a long time. So in a way, I help bring them together. But and we, the opposite end is like if you disappoint a couple and it's their wedding night and they're about to go off their own, it could affect them. I don't know. I shudder to think I had one couple I couldn't taste their bottle of wine. I made a practice of tasting everybody's wine before serving it at Charlie Trotter's. And this was a couple, they just wanted the most expensive bottle of wine in the restaurant. And I said, I have a bottle of Montrachet from Domaine de Romani Conti. It's very expensive. And it's certainly good, but you'll never see it again. And wouldn't you like to have something almost as good and a little older, not more interesting on your wedding night, and you could get some more like it in the future every anniversary. But it was a Friday night and I was busy and I couldn't open it, and the waiter didn't taste it. He just served it. He opened it and served it for them. But they didn't seem to like it, so I wanted to just taste it and take it back. They wouldn't let me. They were too embarrassed. But at the end of the evening, there was almost 3/4 of a bottle left, despite the waiter's attempts to refill their glasses. I go, why are you really refilling their glasses? They obviously don't like it. I'm really upset they won't let me taste it. They forbid me to taste it. And I said, I'm going to have to take it off their bill anyway. And he goes, oh, we get to drink it. I said, I want you to drink it. And I didn't taste it yet. He goes, he brought the bottle to the bar after dinner, and I smelled it. I said, okay, here, drink it. He couldn't touch it. It was so bad. It was totally corked. It was the worst bottle of corked wine I've ever smelled in my life. But you could see they had been fighting about whether or not to complain at the table. She didn't want to make a fuss, and he said, we can't drink it, so there was tension already. I hope this didn't carry over into the honeymoon.
Yeah.
But it can have an effect. The way you treat people or what you do or don't do. In this case, I should have just taken it, and I shouldn't even have asked if I could. I was being polite. But that's the only time I've ever been refused to taste a wine, So I feel bad about it. It's like 25, 30 years later. I still feel bad about it.
That's an incredible story. But it just goes to show, like you just mentioned, like we have this ability to make or break someone's experience based on how we interact with that table.
Yeah.
So,
Or what we fail to do, what we do, all has an effect. And it's hard to make something up once it's screwed up, for many reasons. And in this case, it was their being insecure in a fine dining experience, and not feeling feeling that a complaint would be, would not be taken well.
we get that a lot here, just in general, because our restaurant's considered one of the nicest restaurants in Willamette Valley, Oregon, and we do get a lot of one-timers here. It's a honeymoon or anniversary or a birthday, and we're a special occasion restaurant, right? We don't get a lot of regulars who are here every single week. We of course do have our regulars that come once a month or something like that, but for the most part we are a special occasion restaurant, and people come out here for an experience because they read about us or had friends tell us about them, or whatever it is. And we get a lot of guests come here that have some hesitations sometimes just because they're not used to this level of service. And I think as big as the court is, when the Somm movies came out, remember those on Netflix?
Well, that's what I was saying. I didn't think it was very good for the profession.
Yeah, it really unveiled this sort of hidden gem of the hospitality industry, because the Quartermasters was a very almost secretive, kind of secluded, dare I say, cult at the time, that people didn't understand. And when those shows came out and people were trying to understand, oh wow, there are these people called Master Sommeliers in the world, and they have all this wine knowledge, and they can blind taste, and this is so cool. It became popular, and people all over the world wanted to become sommeliers and started taking their intro exams and moving up through the court. So when that comes here, we get a lot of preconceived ideas of sommeliers, and it's our role to navigate those guests, navigate those tables, but still give them a memorable experience. And it's fun sometimes when we get those tables that are maybe not super wine knowledgeable, or are a little embarrassed because they're at a fine dining restaurant. They don't know how to ask the questions that they want to ask. Is it okay to put this here? Or, can I, whatever it is, whatever their hesitation is with the dining experience. But we never want to come off as pretentious somms.
No.
We want to be hospitable. We want to be service professionals, and that's why it's such a fun job to have, because we can tailor our target towards the guest experience.
Right.
We get guests that come in that, hey, what's Pinot Noir? Great question. Let me tell you about it. Versus the guy that comes in and he's like, I want Latache. Okay, cool. So there's just different levels of guests, and it's amazing to work in a place like this that has such a huge variation of guests from all across the world coming to dine here. You are an absolute world of information. But I do have a fun little, not project, I have a fun idea I thought we'd do, because all of our viewers are gonna be really mind if I don't blind taste with you at least once today. So, Brandon, would you mind grabbing the glasses here?
Oh, I can't taste blinded anymore. I'm an old man. Not only that,
you don't have to get it. We're having fun.
I'm not a sommelier anymore. I will say I'm just an old man. I'm a farmer. What is a farmer?
We're just here to have fun.
All right.
I'm here with one of the best master sommeliers in the world. We have to blind taste something.
Formerly the best. It's not Syrah. It's a dark color though, for if it's Pinot. Good acidity.
Hit down.
Well, I'm doing an analysis. It looks fairly youthful. I don't have daylight, but it looks fairly youthful. Dark color in the center. So ruby. It has some alcohol. It's right. I don't know if it means it has alcohol. It has some viscosity. It has a spicy nose. But it's more like red fruits, somewhat floral. has good acidity, balancing acidity with fruit. It's got a succulence. It has mineral quality, almost like a salinity to the finish. It has a lot that's long. And long, persistent finish. Good fruit and finish. Also that salinity, that kind of whetstone quality. It's not super young either. Maybe it's a 19 Pinot Noir. I think it's from the Yale Abbey Hills, perhaps, because it has that great acidity. But it seems a little heavier. It seems a little richer than from Yale Abbey Hills. But maybe it's Burgundy.
Maybe it is Burgundy. You ready for the reveal?
Yes.
All right.
Uh-oh. It's Omni, and it's 2021. Okay.
Got some 2021 Lingua Franca Ovni.
Well, it's too good. It's too good for Omni. Sorry.
Well, cheers.
Cheers.
It's been such a pleasure having you today. Thank you so much for being here and for all the information and your stories. They're just incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the blind tasting.
Absolutely.
I didn't do too badly.
No, I swear. You can have that.